A reflection of Hoodoo. Welcome to Hoodoo for Everyone, where I will do my best to introduce you to this beautiful folklore magic of Hoodoo. Hoodoo is the African American folklore tradition created right in the southern United States by enslaved Africans. In that tradition, enslaved Africans needed, and I mean really needed, freedom, liberation, and in my words, deliverance. Before there were honey jars, red brick dust, gopher dust, and many other things you may have read are hoodoo, there was the need to be free, a serious freedom that meant life or death. Hoodoo workers originated from healers that resided on the plantations. Some of them were folk doctors, root workers, called so because of the roots they dug up from the ground to use in their practice, medicine women and midwives, those that cared for the pregnant or lactating enslaved Africans and their infants, who could work in the house and came from Africa with an understanding of these traditions. They would make salves out of animal fats, teas out of plants and tree bark, and pain remedies from animal parts, like horse hooves. They used bone set to ensure broken bones were healing, and onions and garlic to cure colds and flu, among other things. Anything to get enslaved Africans back to work in the fields. Hoodoo workers were sought after, revered, and feared. An interviewee from the book African American Slave Medicine by Herbert Covey tells us that Hoodoo and Conjure workers were the most feared and held power of the slaves in those days. They would hold a secret meeting place where you could get charms to harm your enemies. The conjure worker would be working when it was dark by the light of the moon and wave their arms and hands and speak to the moon. In a kettle, they would put snakes and things. No one ever knew everything. And they would all join dancing around the fire and beating the drums faster and faster. They would chant and pray until they fell into a heap. Doesn't sound like light and love to me. Does it to you? This is my belief of hoodoo. It is for those that require swift urgency when you can go to no one else. When your mortgage is late, when an illness isn't going away, when your spouse or partner is leaving, when you are being evicted, when your community is being shot at, when your lives are at stake. This is what hoodoo is for. It's not pretty. It isn't meant to be. So you will not read what you normally hear about hoodoo in this book. I will give you my own experience in hoodoo through my story and the stories of the updated hoodoo people, places, and objects. This is not the hoodoo you may have read about or have seen on social media. This is hoodoo that I have created for those who have been hurt, abandoned, misunderstood, or cast aside because we are not traditional or conforming. These are updated hoodoo foundations. One thing that hoodoo workers, plantation owners, and overseers could agree upon is keeping the body clean. In the enslaved Africans' quarters, there was soap and there were quarantine areas where the newly enslaved could be isolated from the existing ones to ensure disease prevention. They would use castor oil, vinegar, whiskey, rum, and animal fat to ward off infections, diseases, and illnesses.